Okay, so we'll talk about how to handle files in Python, right? Okay, so उससे पहले let's understand how to handle operating system related commands. Okay, so because the handling files depends upon operating system. I have to read file which is kept in C drive, a particular folder, right? The way you will access a file in um, the way you will access file in Windows is different than the way you will access file in the Mac. Okay, so there are some uh, specific commands. Okay, and these commands you will use. Okay, uh, you will use through operating system, right, to handle files. So, for example, if I want to know the operating system which I'm using, okay, so we have a package called OS. Okay, and if you say print, okay, os dot name, okay, now when you run it, okay, so it says NT. All the Windows operating system, Windows 9, 10, 11, all these are based on the concept of NT. The platform that is being used is called NT, okay, which was Windows NT. So Windows NT is a platform which still we use for our work. So if you have any if you take any Windows machine, okay, and if you say OS name, it'll give you the uh, this one NT. Apart from that, you have POSIX, okay. So your uh, Mac, Linux, Unix, all those are based on POSIX file system, okay. So if you run it uh, on Mac, same command, if you run it on Mac, you will get POSIX, not NT. Okay. Now, how do we make a directory? Okay, let's say we want to make a directory or we want to read a directory, right? Content from a directory. Okay. So, let's say let's try. Okay. So, operating system package is used to handle operating system related commands. And then you have something called as path. Okay. So I'm saying from path lib import path. Okay, this will help us to access a path. Okay, so I can give a path location. Okay, so let's say um, okay, so before we do it, we have something called as current working directory. Okay, so if you need to know what is your current working directory, you can say print print os dot get cwd current working directory. So if you're reading a file, okay, by default it will read from this directory, okay, which is here, Swapnil PyCharm projects ML. Okay, this is the default directory. If you want to read from different path, then you have to give different path. Okay, now see, both of these has its own advantage and disadvantages, right? So what is the advantage of get current working directory? Okay, so first we'll talk about, see, if you have a file in C drive, which is not your current working directory, okay, it will be in some different folder, right? So it is not a current working directory, okay. So in that case, current working directory concept is not useful, right? Okay, it is not useful. So you can directly say C drive folder and you can access the file, okay. But where this current working directory is helpful is, let's say if you want to create a file, okay, so while working for some reason you want to create a file. So let's say you have some machine learning result which you want to save it, or you're processing some data and you want to save the result in Excel or PowerPoint or Notepad, right? So your program is going to create a file. In that file, you're going to save it. Now, when you're doing it, when you're writing it, right, it needs to know the path, right? So some system may not have C drive, or you don't. Every system will have C drive, but you may not have access to create folder in C drive, right? Sometimes only admin will have write on C drive. User may not have. So user has to use B drive. But not all computers will have D drive, right? Okay. If you're looking for a particular folder, that folder may not be there. So in that case, you can create the file or the folder in the current directory only. Okay. In current directory, advantage is that every computer will have current directory, right? Current directory is where your Python is installed. You can always change it as well, right? But I mean, in case you want to change it, you can change it. Otherwise, not required. You can create a folder and you can save the file there, and you can say that your file is kept at so and so location, right?
Much.
Okay.
So
So
basically it is used to check only. और भी कुछ इसका काम होता है.
नहीं, रीड करने के लिए, राइट करने के लिए यू नीड टू नो, राइट, लोकेशन कहाँ रीड करना, कहाँ राइट करना है. So this will give you the exact location where you can read and write to file. Okay. Okay. So this is my path, right? Current working directory. Let me go here first, and let me see what we have. Okay. So these are the files or folders which are at your current working directory. Okay. So these are files at your current working directory, right? Now let's say I want to get into September 21. Okay, September 21. So what I'll do here is I'll create a path. Okay, so let's say location or something, I call it, equal to path of, okay, and September 21. September 21.
Oh, now we can access particular file.
Right. So now you have access to that particular folder. See, there's no error. Now, how do I read it? So I will say for content in location. Okay. Now location will have something called as directory. You can iterate through the iterate directory stands for iterate through the directory. Iterate through the directory means you can go through the directory. Okay. And you say print content dot name. Okay. Content dot name means you are going to print the names of the files there. So you see, I mean, all the content, not only files and folders both. Okay. So you see, ML inside this, you have September 21, and September 21 has these two members entries. Let's go and see. You see, my own pack is your directory. So you have my own pack and p1.py, p1.py. Right? Okay. So that is how it is useful to know. You can, let's say, you have the folder, but you don't know the file, or your folder might have multiple files. You want to access each file, or you want to access particular file. So you need something to iterate through the file name, right? And then you decide whether you want to work with it or you don't want to work with it, right? right?
Yes.
Okay, so see, I'll be talking at PMI. You know what is PMI, right?
No, sir.
Um, um, PMI is an organization, okay, international organization called Project Management Institute. Okay, so the Project
Uh,
Management Institute takes care of they provide
mm,
project management certification. Okay, it is one of the
okay.
premier organization, and PMP is one of the premier certification that people do. Okay, so I'm actually talking uh, next Sunday, okay, on 23rd. I'm talking at PMI meet on 23rd. So I would suggest, if you can attend, you can attend. You can call your friends as well. Okay,
Sure, sir. Sure.
yeah, it will be additional information, knowledge that you can get, right?
Okay. Sir,
Yeah.
share me the link.
Yes, yes, I'll share the details with you. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is how you can iterate through files, folders, right? Okay. And as we do more projects, you will get to understand more about it, right? Okay. So okay, so I think now let's get into how to handle files. Okay. So what we'll do is we will try to handle a text file. We'll see how to read and write a file. Okay. So see, anything that is beyond Python, okay, where you are going outside of Python. And same thing we discussed when we're discussing database as well. See, you are talking about, okay, you are talking about, okay, system, you're talking about another software which is not part of Python, right? So I gave this bad example, but it will make you easy to understand. See, if you have to go to another room of the house where you're living, you don't need any permission, right? You can easily go through, walk into, right? But if you have to go to somebody else's house, you can't just walk in, right? You have to first go check if the person is there or not. You know, that means if the house is locked, that means you have access to it or not, right? Only when you have access, you have to request, right? So same thing. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
till now what we've been doing was like working with Python objects only, right? We were talking to Python objects. So when you talk to Python objects, you don't need, okay, one second. Yeah, sorry. Uh, okay, so we were talking about text file, right? So okay, so accessing anything. So see, when you're talking about functions or classes, okay, or list, tuples, dictionaries, it was all within Python. So we didn't have to do any extra thing. Okay, we just created a list object. We access the members. We created a class and created object, started using it. But now we are going beyond Python. We're going to read a file which is managed by operating system, right? We will be going to read database which is managed by database, Oracle database, or SQL Server database, or MySQL database, which is not the area of Python. So when Python has to connect to text file or any other file, okay, or database, okay, there are three things that you have to understand. One is there is a different way. Okay, so you have different package to access text file, different package to access database, right? Okay, so you need to have different set of, it's like knowledge. Okay, so assume that you know English, but you need to talk to someone who's in France. So you can't you can't learn French, okay, and talk to people from France, Italy, German, right? You have to speak French to connect to French. Okay, you need to speak Italian to connect to Italy, people in Italy. Now you can say that why can't they learn English? Okay, the thing is you need to connect to them. Okay, so if Python needs to connect, Python needs to provide capabilities to talk to database. When database is talking to this, then database will have capabilities. Okay, but here you're trying to talk to database from Python. So your Python should have the required capabilities, right? The functions, the package. So first step is to create what is called as handle. Okay, the handle is created based on the the source, right? For notebook, sorry, for text file, you have a separate handle. For something else, you'll have something else, right? So okay, we will go. Okay, as we go along, we will hear more about it. Okay. So first thing, as I said, you need to have handle, right? Second thing is you need to make a connection road, right? You need to know, if you need to go to your friend's house, you need to know how to go there, right? You need to know how to go there, right? You need to know the route, right? A third thing is you need to have a vehicle, right? Which will take you through that route. Okay, so three things. First, the capabilities, can you go or not, right? Of course, you can go only when you can go, right? If you don't have the capabilities, if you don't have the required functions or required class to connect to that source, you can't, right? And second thing is, yes, you can go. Then what is the route to go? How do I go? Third is, by what should I go? Right. So third part is where the information exchange happens. You send communication to your friend, to text file. Text file will return the communication to you. These are the three steps that you need to follow. Okay, for any kind of third party interaction. For Python, text file has become a third party, right? Different software. So you need to follow three steps. Okay, and of course, there will be little different. Okay, on how you connect to say text file versus database. Of course, it will not be exactly the same, isn't it? Okay. So okay, so let's see this. Okay, I want to connect and read a text file. Okay. So I'm going to say reading a text file. Okay, now I'm going here. Let's say, let me see if I have a text file here. Do I have it? Do you see a .txt somewhere? I must have something here. Okay, it's not there. Then let me see. I have some dummy text. Okay. Let me, hmm. Python learn. Okay, Python learn. Let's see if this has. It doesn't have. Let's create a text file. Okay. So in Python learn, I'm going to create a text file. Okay. I'll say file 1, and I'm going to say twinkle, twinkle, little star, how up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Let's say it's some lines from it. Okay. Let's add the other line also. How I wonder what you are. Okay. So let's take 4 lines. Now I'm going to read this file. So 2 ways, right? One way is use the current, folder location method, and the second way is that it's called absolute path. Okay. So when you're trying to read with based on the current location, it is called as relative path. Okay. So relative to where you are, right? Relative to where you are, how far is the destination where you want to go, right? So that's called get the current working directory, and from there you say change the folder, go into that folder, get into that folder. Second way, which we are going to do now, is called absolute path. I'll just give the absolute path. Okay, the folder, file is there on my computer, so I'm going to just give the absolute path, right? So I come here and I'm going to read this file. Okay, so learn file1.txt. So I'm going to say file loc equal to r. Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm using r. File1.txt. Okay, so this R stands for regular expression. I don't know if we discussed this when we are doing print in first or second class. What happens
Sir,
is you have
we
this
did.
slash, right? Remember, slash has a special meaning, escape sequence. If I say slash n, let's say if I give file name as Nile, then slash n will not be able to read as a Nile file. What will do? Slash n will treat it as a new line, isn't it? So if you do not give R, it's going to, the meaning of this slash n will be retained. But the moment you say, okay, R, you're saying that this is a regular text, do not have any meaning to it. So slash R, slash D, quotation, all those things will not have any meaning. Okay. So R will make it a pure text. R will make it a pure text. So one option is, okay, if you don't want to give R, and probably here I don't see there's any problem here. Okay, slash f looks like a problem. So what you can do is you can say slash. So when you refer these programs on the internet, okay, Python program, some people might put double slash here. Okay, because double slash, we know double slash will make it single slash, right? We have already discussed this. Okay, so they do something like this. Okay, they will replace, they will put double slash. So double slash is replaced with one single slash when you are handling, when you are working. In that case, you don't give R. Okay. Second case is, you give R and you don't have to give double slash. Okay. So, so in this case, I'm giving R. Okay. Just in case anything is a problem, it will not give that. So this is the file location. So what was the first step? Did I tell you what should we do?
It's a handling.
So we discussed about 3 steps, right? So what was the first step?
And the first one was get command.
Yeah. So do you have access to it or not? Right? Do you have access to it or not? Isn't it? So to do that, as I said, we need to access this, right? We need to see if we have access to this. So we will create, okay, we will use open. Open is the function, okay, that shows if we have access to a particular file or not. So I'm going to say file handle. Okay, this is called as file handle basically. Okay, so file handle open, okay, open what? So you give the file location. file location along with the file name. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if you do it, it is available. Okay. Otherwise, you can mention whether you want to open file in write mode or read mode. Okay. So you have three modes: write mode, read mode, and append mode. Okay. If you don't give anything, if you don't give the mode here, by default, it will read in read it in read mode. Okay. So when you open, it's not reading is not a good word. It's a open. It will open this file in read mode. Okay. In read mode, you can't write. So when you open a file in read mode, you can't write to it. If you open a file in write mode, okay, you can write and read as well. Okay. Then why do we need to open in read mode? If you write is writing both read and write, okay, then why not use write mode? But the problem is, when you're trying to access multiple values, the moment you open up something in write mode, the file gets locked by this user. Okay, so if somebody is trying to read, it will be a little slow and it'll give a warning saying that file is getting used. So if you have no intention to write, okay, open in read mode so that other people will have no effect, will not have any other problem accessing it. Okay, so that's why we generally don't open in write mode if we have to read. Okay, so we will learn how to read only for now, and later we'll see write and append. Okay, so read, you can only read, you can't write. Write, you can write, but what happens in write is when you start writing, it will delete the previous content. Okay, so if you want to delete the previous content and write afresh, we use write mode. But let's say if you want to maintain the old content and you want to add new content to it, that's when we use
Append.
append. Exactly. So as the name suggests, we are appending to what is already there. Write will delete, clear everything, and write again. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to open in read mode. So for read mode, I don't have to give, or I can say read R. Okay. Sorry, R, not R. E. R for read, W for write, A for append. As simple as that. Okay. So great. So we have the file handle. We know which file. Okay. Now if I run it, and if this doesn't give error, that means you have access to it. You're welcome to visit your friend. Okay. If let's say I give something like this. Okay. So see, you get error, file not found. That means you're not welcome to visit because that's not there. Right. So great. We have now access. Okay. Now in read, okay, we will be using file handle, okay, to go to the file, read the content, and display it on our screen. So there are three options here. Okay, we have read line, and read lines. Okay, so let's see the difference between these. So I'm going to say, okay, so file handle, okay, is open file name, right? Now I will say file handle dot read. See, you see, read lines, line, read and read line. So readable, right? So readable gives us whether your file is accessible and can you read it or not. Read line, as the name suggests, you're going to read one line, right? Single line you can read. Read lines, you can read entire lines. Read indicate that you can read whatever you want to. Anything in that file you can read it. Okay. So if I say read, okay, and I, because this read is going to return me the content from that file, right? So I need to have a variable which will capture, which will catch the content coming in. So I'm going to say this is a function, right? It's going to return a value. So I need a return value to capture it, right? So I'm going to say content, something like this. Okay. And what I can do here now, I can say print con. Okay. So you see, twinkle, twinkle, little star, entire content is added. So if you want to read entire thing, you can use read. But let's say I want to read only 5 characters. So I'll say read 5. So we'll say read 5. Okay. The moment I say read 5, okay, now when I read it, so see, you get only 5 characters. You get only 5 characters. You can't get more than 5 characters. Okay, because
What
we
if, sir, we
say
want to read only two?
we give 2.
No, 2 lines.
So it is how many characters you want to read, right? It's about the characters here, right? How many characters you want to read?
How
100
many characters
characters,
you can get?
50 characters. Yeah. Okay. So let's say I give 100. Okay. Now see, from twinkle, the diamond in T is 100 in the sky, right? So what happened? It gave us only the 100 characters. Doesn't matter whether it's in one line or multiple lines. Doesn't really matter. Okay. It'll give us the content. Now, after reading this, I want to read one character. Okay, file handle read. I say 1. Okay. So see, T is read previously. So now H is read. Okay. So when you say read, there is something called as file seek, or you can assume it to like a pointer, which is moving. So even though we did not print, but we did run through it, right? So when you run through it, it is going to stay there. Okay, you have read 100 characters. So the file pointer is at that point, at the 100 point. Now there you can choose to read one character or multiple characters. I chose to read one character, and you see H is read. But let's say you want to go back. Okay, you read 100 characters and you have done what you want to do, and you want to go you want it to reset. That means you want it to go back to position 0. So we have something called as seek. Okay, so the handle file handle dot seek. Okay, and you can give the value at which point do you want it to go. You want to go to back to 0, you say file 60. You want it to go back to 10th character, you give it 10. You want to go back to 100th character, you give it 100. Okay, so if I give let's say I give 1. Okay, and let me try to print 10 words here. So when I gave 1, it went to 1. So T it went to T, twinkle twinkle, right? So first T is not printed.
Yeah.
Okay, Winkle is printed because first the pointer is at W. We said of 1. So 1 is already read. It's waiting for second character. Okay, so this is what we call it as a read. Okay, okay. Second one, you have read line. Okay, I'm going to say okay. Okay, so now again, before we go to read line, see here you have probably 105 characters. If I give 10,000, what will happen? Okay, it's not going to give us error. Okay, it will give us entire thing. Okay, 10,000 not the 105 is there, so stop 105. It is not there, so it will not print. Right? Okay. Now coming back here, I'm saying, okay, read line 10. It didn't print anything here. Why? It didn't print anything here because our seek is at the last point, and from last point, if you go any number of characters, you won't be able to move ahead, isn't it? So what I have to do is I have to say seek. Before reading, I will reset it to 0. And now I'm going to say 10. So it got reset to first line, you got 10. Okay, so till now, there is no difference between read and read line, isn't it? There also, if you say 10, you get this much only. Here also, you're going to 10, you're getting this much only, isn't it? But when I put 100, what happens? So what happened to the entire content read happens to this for the first line, isn't it? So there, you know, when we are reading the entire read thing, okay, total it was 105 characters. So we said want to read 1000, so it stopped there. It didn't go any further. But here I'm saying read line. That means we are reading current line. Okay, that is important. The current line.
Currently.
Okay, so in current line I'm reading 100 characters, but current line has only 20 characters. So it will print 20 and then it stops there. It will not go to next line because you have said line only. So it's not going to go to next line. Is it? Isn't it?
And if we put lines and then the full content will be printed.
Okay. So the problem, okay, it's not the problem, feature, okay, it's not problem, right? Sorry. The feature of read lines is that it returns you as a list. Each line, of course, it will give you same content, but it will return as a list. Okay. Okay, so when you are trying to read using read lines, output will not be a simple string. It will going to be a, okay, it will be a list. It will be object of list. Okay, and you will get as list. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll stop here. Okay. I want you to practice this read. We will talk about other concepts. Okay. Tomorrow when we meet, we'll do it.
Like till when like will complete Python?
Okay.